What's going on, guys? It's Ed here. I hope you guys are having a great day. Today we're doing a deck list I am extremely excited about doing. It's a deck theory. It's not really exactly a deck list. I do have a list of cards I want to run, but this is not the final list that I probably will be running. But it's a good idea for us to get a good conversation about Lianorn off the ground. So let me just swap to the scene. We're going to be doing this slightly different. Because since we don't have physical cards and I don't want to use card fight area, I made a PowerPoint. So we will be making a Lianorn Masque deck theory video. So real quick, before we hop into it, as a quick reminder, this is just an idea of what a Lianorn Masque deck list could look like. I'm also basing this list off of current reveals off of the time of recording, which is 3/22. So, let's get right into it, starting with our ride line. So we are going to ride our Rowo ride line. I personally enjoy this ride line a lot more. Yes, we seem to have a better soul solution with traditional Lianorn, but I just prefer this because we also get free tokens and free boosters. So, for those who are new to the game or interested in this list, let me go over these cards in slightly more detail. So, the grade 2 is, or grade 2, the grade 0 is like every other starter for Rowoa. When this unit is rode upon, draw if you went second. But the reason we have to choose Rowoa is because we're doing the whole Rowoa ride line up until grade 2. Because the grade 1 Rowoa is when this unit is placed by riding Bio Youth Rowoa, which is the grade 0, call up to 1 plant token into your back row center rear guard circle. So this helps us get a boost if we go second, and it helps us get a token ready to go for our next turn. Followed by our grade 2 Rowoa, when this unit is placed on Vanguard Circle, the cost is retire one of your rear guards, also known as token we summoned last turn, and we could call up to 2 plant tokens. So this allows us to create a 10k column, or to have 2 5k boosters for if we're going for an aggressive grade 2 turn, so that they are not just 10k units in the front row, but 15k columns. But, once again, this is all up to your current game state, your current damage, and your current matchup, so please make the decision accordingly. Then, for our grade 3, we run our Lianorn. For people who don't know who Lianorn is, her act skill is once per turn, counterblast 1, draw a card, choose a card from your hand, and call it to the rearguard circle or discard it. So you may use it to search for a Masque order that we run in the deck, or to help you get more boosters or units out onto the field. It has a second skill of when this unit attacks, cost Soul Blast 1 and discard a card from hand, boost with your entire back row standing units that have the boost skill. If you boosted this unit with 3 or more units, this unit gets drive +1 until the end of that battle. At the end of that battle, choose 2 of your back row rear guards and stand them. So this is good if we go first, because this allows us to be aggressive on our first grade 3 turn. But, what do you call it? The plan I have for this deck is you kind of want to go second based off of the next card we're going to go over when we start going over our grade 3s. The first card I want to go over is I want to run 2 copies of Masque of Hydragrum. Its order skill is look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 unit with Dragon Tree or Masque in its card name. From among them, reveal it, put it to hand, and then shuffle your deck. Then it has the secondary skill when it's in the drop zone. This is for when you go second. If you have a grade 3 Vanguard without Masques in its card name, reveal a grade 3 card with Masque in its card name from your hand, ride that revealed card as cost, and it will be riding as a standing Vanguard. If you rode, put this card into your soul, so that gives us more soul. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater and you did not Persona Ride this turn, activate Persona Ride. So that's going to help out with 2 of our skills for some of the grade 2s we're running in this deck. So now you see how you're catching up in your we go in second, but on your first grade 3 turn, you could Persona Ride to give you even more power. But what do we need that more power for? Our 4 copies of Servitude of Funeral Procession Lianorn Masque. So I was really hyped over its auto skill, and I am already theorizing what I want to do with it. But let me tell you what this card does first. So it has a continuous, it's not even a skill, it's a requirement essentially. This card can only be written from a grade 3 with Lianorn in its name. Therefore, it means we cannot run this in the ride deck. But on the bright side, we get 4 Persona Rides in this deck. So that may help us in case we cannot trigger additional effects. Or, I guess we can't use the mask when we're on the new Lianorn Masque skill. But her skill of once per turn is remove a different card from your hand, soul, or drop that has the name Lianorn in it. Choose a grade 1 from your drop and call it to the rearguard circle. That helps replenish your field, but then you get to choose one of your opponent's rearguards and retire it. So that allows you to put the game more in your favor, whether you could choose to retire an interceptor based on your field, or retire one of their back row units that is a key, aka a Brainwash Swirler, or in Flagbird, I forget that grade 3 that can attack from the back row for 23k. It just allows us to have more control in this deck. And its auto skill is when this unit attacks, choose up to 3 units in your back row with the boost skill that are standing and boost this unit with them. If you boost it with 3 or more units, at the end of that battle, counterblast 1, choose 2 of your rear guards and stand them. So in traditional Lianorn, you could have to choose 2 of your back row, 2 of any rear guard with Lianorn Masque, which means you can have 5 attacks per turn. And if you do the Masque skill, if you Persona Ride, that means your front row already has 20k, and if you could put your triggers onto them, it gives them a better chance of hitting. I want to go over some grade 2s that I think make this deck work beautifully. First one is Tide Line Dragon. Its axe skill when it's on the rearguard circle is if you Persona Ride this turn, Soul Blast 1, choose another one of your units, that and this unit gain 10k power until the end of turn. And then there's a little note section that we also translated. Note, if you Persona Ride this turn, is active even if Persona Ride was activated outside of normal riding, a la the Masque order. So when you're in grade 2, when you're on your grade 2, you go to your grade 3, go in second. Your opponent's already at grade 3. Use the Masque skill, Ride Lianorn Masque, activate Persona Ride, then you can activate Tide Line Dragon skill, give him and another unit 10k. So you're most likely going to give this to your front row, which means, let's just say if you have another grade 2 in your front row, both Tide Line and that other grade 2 are 30k beat sticks on their own before drive checks. One of the reasons why I like this card is front to getting 8k power in it if you Persona Ride. 25 if you put a Dragon Tree marker, which it is a little harder to do in this deck, but it's still possible. The second grade 2 I want to run in this deck is 4 copies of Love Binding Maiden, Margaret. Auto skill is when this card is discarded during the ride phase, the cost is Soul Blast 1, put this card to the bottom of the deck, draw a card. You could do that in the early game to help keep your hand up, but I don't see doing that too much because we might not have as much soul as we want to work with, because I want to say this deck I made is kind of Soul Blast heavy, but we kind of replenish it as we go on in the list. But the skill that I really like about this card is when this unit is placed on rearguard circle, if you Persona Road this turn, Counterblast 1, and your opponent cannot intercept with their front row rearguards, and they also do not restand on the next restand phase. So this intercept restricts, forces your opponent to guard from hand, and the opponents either get less attacks on their next turn, because their front row will not be restood, or they'll be forced to call over the front row, which just keeps milling more cards from hand, allowing us to just keep hitting for big numbers and hitting harder. 3 copies of Dragon Tree Wretch Depth Left With. That's probably not how you pronounce that card, but fuck it, we ball. Auto skill: when this unit is placed on rearguard circle, counterblast and soul blast 1. Choose one of your rearguards without. Oh, it's not rearguards, pardon me. Rearguard circles without any Dragon Tree markers. Put a Dragon Tree marker on that circle. Then you may search your deck for up to 1 Masque of Hydragrum, reveal it, put it into your hand, shuffle your deck. So this is our Masque searcher, which, going back to our Masque, I forgot to mention I run 2 copies of it, because if I run 1, yes, the chance of damaging that out is low, but it's not 0. So, and if you can't heal that 1 copy out of the damage zone, then you're stuck with regular Lianorn until you either hit a heal trigger that allows you to actually heal and get it out, or find another means of replacing it. But that's more for its premium and not for D, which this deck is designed for. So this allows us to search it out and grab it. And as I put it in the bullet point, to remind myself as a talking point, the Masque Order Searcher, and it gives a front row unit 5k when the Lianorn Masque is the Vanguard. So this helps us get to that 25k beat stick plus beat stick when we are using our various skills. The grade 1s we want to run. We are running a lot of what you think we would run. 3 copies of Performing Petal Diantha. When this unit is placed on the rearguard circle from hand, if your Vanguard's grade 3 or greater, counterblast 1. Choose a grade 3 or less unit from your drop, call it to rearguard. Then during your turn, if you have 2 or more grade 1 or less rearguards in your back row, this unit gains 5k power. This helps you rebuild your board, and it's a 13k booster, so Lianorn Masque can hit harder. 3 copies of Marching Debut Purete. During your turn, if you have 3 or more grade 1 or less rearguards, this unit gains 5k. It's a nice easy 13k booster without too much hassle. And then 3 copies of Prized Trident. So this one's a new addition to my Lianorn list, because its skill is auto. When another one of your units attack, if it's the 5th battle of this turn, put this unit into your soul and countercharge 1. I think that's honestly pretty good, because it both replenishes our soul and our counterblast for our next turn. And then run 1 copy of Elementaria Sanctitude. You know, this is for the PG for grade 4 decks, stride decks, and it generally use PG if you need it. And 3 perfect guards. Pick your poison of which ones you want for the art. For people who are new to the game, the perfect guards are the units who, when you use them and pay their cost, it allows attack no matter how strong to be blocked. So our trigger lineup that I'm thinking about running with is, of course, we want to run the OT because OT OP, but it gives our restanding rear guards plus 10k because its power gives 10k to the front row. And if we don't give the crit to our Vanguard, if they perfect guarded, we can give a rear guard 100 million and a crit. But this also allows us to draw 2 and replenish our hand, and if we have more damage than our opponent, we also get to heal a point of damage. Then 4, I want to say normal heal triggers. Like, we could use the effect heals, but I've just been having bad luck. Maybe it's my matchups. When I run, I just feel more confident with having a simple 15k shield in my hand as opposed to a conditional 10k power shield. So yeah, it's over here, but unless you know you're going to be fighting Ava, Gravidia, MLB, or other decks that can easily get crits through their skills, I recommend running heal triggers. But when you're fighting Flagbird, Eugene, now it's Eugene, Maelstrom, you could slot in 1 or 2 of the restand heal triggers, and it's also good against the mirror. I say 7 crits, 4 effects, and 3 vanilla. Try to increase the chance of critting with our standing rear guards now that the enemy's hand has been hopefully significantly reduced. And then 4 effect fronts, make bigger numbers, but we mainly want this for shield value. Lianorn has a history of not having too much shield, and what do you call it? I feel like this deck list fixes that. There we go. Got it that time. But that's mainly because we run Resonance Dragon, and that takes up a good amount of slots, and the other grade 3, I run Clapping Dragon in my build, so I can get to draw. So because they have no shield value, I just don't have less shield to work with to help survive turns. So here's some techs or swaps I've been thinking about running in this deck. It's up to you if you choose to run them, but here's some additional cards that have been taken into consideration. We could run more Lianorn. So the pros for this is you get to Persona Ride in case you brick getting Masque units. Use this as ride fodder, so you can still get the retire skills and a superior call from drop skills. And you can still use the trial deck version for the Masque skill. So as long as it's a card for Lianorn, that helps us with the budget version of this deck. The cons is this takes space from our other units, which can either increase our power, get units back, or soul charge and counter charge. I just don't feel like having set almost between 7 and 8 Lianorns deck. Plus, no shield value, and Lianorn struggles with shield. This one, it's been showed off in the anime, but okay, her name's Amelia. I forgot her name for a second, but I feel like Prize Trident does this skill better. But for the people who can't read Japanese, during your turn, your Vanguard is Servitude of Funeral Procession Lianorn Masque. This unit gains 5k power. It gains the auto skill when it's on the rear guard circle. At the end of the battle, your Vanguard attacks cost Soul Blast 1 and retire this unit to countercharge 1. So pros, it's a countercharger, and it's a 13k booster or attacker depending on what you need. But the cost to get that countercharge is a Soul Blast and sending that unit to drop. Personally, that's why I picked Prized Trident over her when making this deck list. Dragon Tree Wretch Best Avayatas. I made my furniture float with that one. When this unit is placed on the rearguard circle, counterblast 1. Choose one of your rearguard circles without a Dragon Tree marker and place a marker. And then once per turn, if your Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, counterblast Soul Blast 1. Choose a normal order from the drop, put it into your hand. We're typically not going to use that second skill. That's mainly made for Zorga, in my opinion. But the pros for this one is it's a cheaper way. Instead of Soul Blast, Counterblast 1, get a Dragon Tree marker. You can just Counterblast 1 and we can easily pay that cost back as we get later into the game. And we can use this as a back row booster. Cons, it can easily eat resources that will be as we go ahead. Second skill is not really applicable to Lianorn. Like I said, that's mainly made for Zorga. Inlet Pulse. Aurora also used this in the anime. But, you know, auto skill. At the end of your turn, if the total amount of attacks this turn was 4 or more, put this card into your soul and draw a card. So that allows us to get a card draw and it replenishes our soul. But, you know, I don't forget why I put this into the PowerPoint. But the first skill is it can restand when you are having Flagbird as your Vanguard. But it can restand anyway with Lianorn's skill, but it also has no shield value, because I'm really trying to focus on shield value with this build, so that Lianorn has more survivability as well as leaks. And we can also add a Force Protecting Hunter, Prosper. It's the new Lianorn promo that's been recently put into circulation. When this unit is placed by a card's ability, you may Soul Charge 1. And then when this unit boosts a Vanguard with Lianorn in its name, choose a unit within the same column and that gains 5k until the end of turn. Pros, I wrote should. It's a soul charge. It's not actually a 13k booster. It's still an 8k booster, but it gives 5k to something else and increases the power of freestanding rear guards. The cons, I think this card is made for more pure Lianorn, and when I say pure, I mean it is uncorrupted Lianorn. That's what I mean. So if I could put this into a regular Lianorn deck list, but I feel like it has no place in the Masque variety. And we have other cards that do the same as this skill, but kind of better. So here's a combo I want to show off to show you how we could get a 25k front row on our grade 3 turn, or grade 4, depending on if we Persona Ride or not. So the only thing that we have to pay attention here, I'm gonna turn it, is that this is working off of, we have 2 grade 2s in hand, and we have our Masque in the drop already. That back in. So we would use the Masque skill to Persona Ride into Lianorn Masque, and then that will allow us to give 10k to our front row, and then we can call a grade 2. In this case, we're going to use I forget her name already, but remember, her activation condition for her Soul Blast skill is now in effect if we choose to activate it to make sure that we stun the front row rear guards of our opponent. I didn't do this in this example because then we call Tideline Dragon, use Tideline Dragon skill to Soul Blast 1, and it allows us to give another 10k to our front 2 rear guards. So they're already at 20k or 30k total power beat sticks on their own, and we didn't even swing for triggers yet. So that's going to require your opponent to make a decision of take the damage or guard, risking us getting more stuff in our drive checks. And you notice I put Soul Blast at 2. So one Soul Blast is, you can use that for the Lianorn skill to call back a unit or to retire a unit, or you can use it for Garuto. Let's go back and see what her name is real fast. Margaret. There we go. But yeah, so I feel like that just helps this deck. So hopefully this video gets a discussion going. If you guys like this video, hit that like button, make sure you subscribe, and comment down below what you like, what you don't like, or how you think things could be changed, and other combos you discovered when I was talking about this deck. And make sure you guys follow me on all my other social media. I hope you guys have a great day. Stay happy, stay healthy. I'll see you guys next time.